Welcome back, everyone, to the Faded Town Podcast, World's Edition. We are the number one Pokemon podcast in the world. Check those facts. That's why we got all these assholes on the show. So, make sure you introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Jesper, because you're probably... No, you're the second youngest. Yeah, but go ahead.
Wait, how can I not be the youngest? What the hell?
No, we got Emery.
All right, so...
We got Emery.
12.
Wait, how old are you, Emery?
17.
What the heck?
Bobby. Quick says he's like 23
I
or
know.
something.
Damn.
Yo, I'm 30, bro.
Yeah. All right, keep fucking going.
Yeah,
keep
all right.
going.
All right, so of course, my name is Jesper. I recently turned 18, so I'm apparently older than Emery is.
We don't care
even
about
though I
your
don't
age.
act like it. I'm here in DC right now. That's why I'm on my phone right now. Otherwise, pleasure to be on a podcast for a second time now. I'm actually just looking forward to winning my Chumley portrait.
All right.
Ooh, Lexi. That's got something to say about that.
Well, I'll bring that up in a minute. All right, Jeff, introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going by age.
No,
cool.
hell
Well,
no. Hell no. We just start-
I literally thought we
I'm
were going
just
off age.
just
I'm like,
going- I gotta-
I'm on the other side of that spectrum there. Yeah, Jeff Saran Wrap from the Super Rockcast. Real happy to be on. Super stoked to have this whole group of great guys to talk all things Pokemon for this season. So yeah, also the first and greatest podcast ever, Super Rockcast. Just saying.
Someone just called me great. Yikes.
All right, Russ.
I'm Russell Power.
Let's get it up. We don't need that.
I've been on here before, and yeah, World is coming.
Never got
Got
that.
it.
Cool. All right.
World is coming.
Josh, Mr. Josh Hatter.
Josh Hatter, I don't actually know why I'm here. I'll be honest with you. But my decks look really cool, and that's all I got.
There you go.
For that
Is that
Frost
max
gas
rarity?
that she posted.
Your hair's pretty cool.
Your hair's cool. All right, Emery.
My name is Emery
Actually,
Taylor.
everyone knows who he is. Move
I've
on. Mike,
I've never been on a podcast. Literally, I've never recorded anything Pokemon related ever once in my life. I'm from Bloomington, Minnesota, and according to Russ, I'm awful at Pokemon.
No, I said you misplayed in finals. It's a big difference.
I don't know, bud.
There is a huge difference.
Marsha,
I heard
Auto.
off of a Pokemon. All right, Mike.
that's the problem with the community.
Hey, I'm Mike Morton, and I just skipped a dinner reservation for this.
Yo,
Like a week
bailing
ago.
on the new
Or like
wife
3 days ago.
for the Pokemon podcast. That's why, Jeff, we are number one.
Yes. No, that's that. They wouldn't do that for a Super
Hope
Rockcast.
so.
I feel
marriage.
like I'm gonna be able
Yeah.
to compare
Seems
too.
safe.
You know, I did Jeff like on Monday. I'll be able to do this one and just
I
tell
thought
him
you never did
who
any.
was best.
Now you're a liar. I would count
No,
this as
I
any.
my twin, Bemery Taylor.
Beverly
Taylor.
Taylor. Oh shit.
The one that actually plays Pokemon well. That one.
Yeah, he's the one who made it's. We're like Lindsay Lohan in all those movies where she was like her characters.
Fucking swap.
The
my
Parent
God.
Trap.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
The fact that
yeah.
you reference that movie is astounding.
Yes.
Give-
Yeah, you're like,
That-
well,
that's
I can't
pretty
believe
good.
you
That
couldn't-
movie is
Yeah, I've
almost
never
older
seen
than
it.
you. That movie is like older than you.
Oh my gosh. All right, you guys.
I'm a legal
This
child.
year is coming
All right.
up to a close. Worlds is around the corner. Let's hear some of your most memorable or not so memorable experiences from this tournament. Russ, you look lethargic. Let's start with you, buddy.
What tournament?
Who
Like,
gives
you
a
whole
shit?
world.
Who gives a shit?
You're-
Let's-
you're
what's your
you
best
literally have the
moment
whole
or
year to
something?
pick from. What's your favorite finish? I don't give a shit. You know, like whatever you want to talk about.
So I enjoy talking shit,
We know.
and then when I activated Try Hard Russ, and then I made top next event. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, try to Russ. All right.
And then dead drawing twice in finals. Game 2 and 3 was a lot of, or top 8 was really
Yeah,
funny.
don't go finals.
What-
No,
what
finals.
region-
I'll never make it
What
there.
regional was that?
That was both of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was like every time I make top 8, I'll dead draw.
It was
two,
both
three,
of them.
just
It
sit
was
there and
both.
be like,
fucking
Both
stacked.
of
Okay. All right. Well,
that's about it. No one's like really done anything. Everyone like hypes the DDG runs, but like, I mean,
We'll get into DGG because we can't talk about the year without talking about DGG.
guys.
this is true.
if we-
This is true.
if
We
we-
gotta
like,
talk a little bit.
Ideally, if we look at it, well, we can talk about it now. Let's do that because they got the first 5 regionals, right? They got
Okay.
7 of the first 9 and 9 of the first 11 regionals. Is
9
that
out of 11?
Would you say like
Did
there's
Limitless
like,
take all of the European regionals?
We did not.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make you laugh.
Do you think they put in like
we got one.
Is this something other people could use, like teams? Well, you know how I feel about teams, but can teams look at this and go, "We could do this if we all just work together," or did they just get lucky?
They kind of like it was kind of the perfect storm, apparently, from what they've been saying. But I mean, I don't give a shit what these people fucking say. I don't know anything. I don't know shit. It could be the fucking it's a fucking conspiracy theory to me. I don't give a fuck.
It's a conspiracy theory?
About
like
what?
They physically.
They said that literally it's like a Bandcamp story. One time in Mexico, they all discussed this.
Is this a banana boat? Is there a banana boat situation where they're just like, we're all gonna be on a team now?
Exactly.
And then whenever you say Bandcamp, you just have to go like, oh yeah, this one time at Bandcamp, you just like be like that white girl being like that.
Exactly. It's their stories. One time in Mexico, we all hung out. We talked about this guy. This guy opened up about this, and we talked about this. Now we're DDG, and then we started fucking turning up and winning tournaments. Yeah.
Is it just because they're 6 of the best players and they worked together and made one deck and won, or was it luck? Like, could Russ get 6 of the best players and work together and win 11 regionals?
To be honest with you, you don't even need 6 of the best players. You just need 6 people that are dedicated.
Am I allowed to cheat? I'm not saying that they cheated. I'm just saying, are we allowed to factor that in?
Yeah.
I mean, like, here's what I say. Like, when you say luck's involved, our game has so much variance in it that, like, luck. Whoever wins got lucky at one point throughout the tournament. At some seed, maybe multiple games, but like, it's using your advantages and using your luck and snowballing it into like consistent wins and progress, right? So I can name like hundreds of times people have misplayed on stream against them, and I'm like, they should have lost this game, but here we are, right? And it doesn't take away from the fact that like they've done so well and that they're getting lucky because their opponents make misplays or it might just genuinely be shit. So like that's more so like speaking to how strong it is to take all the best players of the game, put them together, and then they just keep making these consistent like really hard meta reads on everybody that no one else sees coming. Yeah. And like the sketchball stuff that you see written all about them all over like you know, Twitter, Facebook, and all this other stuff, like that just kind of speaks towards like their character and how they might be as a competitor, striving for always going for a win. So I honestly, like, I don't know. I don't say I like super respect them, but like I'm just saying I definitely respect their success, especially Pendy's and Caleb's. They fucking kill it.
Pendy's not a part of.
I mean, don't forget about Dan
anymore. So he's on full grip now.
Who cares? Who cares? We're talking about the year's review. You don't let Aaron Rodgers make playoffs and then be like, all right, so now that he's on like X team, that's like not a teammate.
All right, fair enough.
But I mean,
right,
I definitely understand what you're saying though.
You know, it's about the success they put in. And I don't know. I think that they all just made really good calls. They really consistent decks, and people they're not prepared for what they have. And like the second half of the year, they found out everyone sucks at managing resources, so they just decked everybody. Yeah, and that was really funny. So
I would say it taught us a bigger lesson about the community too, which is, I mean, I don't know to what degree you guys saw this, but the AM team thing was a big issue. Or at least not a big issue, but I know there's a lot of drama involved with their amateur team. Just
because they disrespected their homies, man.
No, I mean I understand.
There was
but
an amateur team.
Hold on a second. There's an amateur team.
I didn't even fucking.
There was an A team before this year picked up, and they straight just moved people that were on the A team and said they were making a B team, and then the people who put it on said B team were like, okay, so you don't think I'm good as these players, and the players that you're picking up are all quote-unquote scumbags because of passes they have. I'm not saying that they are now. I'm referencing what they're talking about then.
People change. People change.
I mean, people change, but like if I punch you in the face 2 years ago, you gonna like me today?
No, of course not.
Oh my god, bro.
It's okay, people change. It's just certain people can like forgive them for it, which is totally cool. And what they did was they gave up that humanity, and the thing that made them what I believe someone's PC still has is like the heart of like that kind of family-oriented team, and they gave that all up so they can pick up the best players. And clearly, they've had success because of it, because they all just started winning and all this stuff. But like slowly but surely, some of the players started leaving. Whether that has to do with the animosity amongst the teams and like in and of itself, I know more than I can actually discuss here because I'm not trying to disrespect everyone else's feelings and how much they talk to me about it and shit. However, they did have a B team. They felt super disrespected and they broke it off, as Emery said. I personally think that having a B team is a slap in the face to anyone on B team, and above all else, because this game does not make that much money.
No,
I could give a shit.
We barely
on
make
A team or B team of my team. I just want them to be my homies. Just know that we all love each other.
Yeah.
All right.
So I like the way you talked about like family oriented teams. That's also the way we do it limitless. Maybe it like looks like more like just like we're all a bunch of like really good, but like it's also how a team should work. It should be family oriented. It should be a team, not a bunch of paid sponsored players. That's why it's called a team.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We need a team.
But is it right? Is it right? Because you say the family thing, but obviously what they're doing is right. They got 11 regionals. Like
but
so,
maybe you're.
But
just,
I mean,
like, you're putting this busted testing group together, of course, but like of course with DDG putting on a B team, I'm not 100% sure that personality wise the B team was like very much in contact with the A team at all.
yeah, I would think like in the whole thing, they had like 20 people on their team at one point.
Yeah.
It's like
we
that
walk
was
in
stupid.
and be like, "There's 37 people today."
Yeah, there's like
Did you see that?
37. I was like, and then one day I asked Danny, the owner, I was like, "How many people are on your team?" He's like, "Oh, we're down to 5 or whatever." I was like, "Okay, this makes sense." I'm like, it shouldn't have been 30 people. Like,
No.
First of all, like that's how I knew for a fact. I was like, no one's getting paid shit. If you got 30 people on your team, like, what could you really be paying these people? So
I mean, that's what they were saying at the beginning, that it wasn't about the money, just cared about winning. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's BS. But
win,
I mean, I won't say that. I won't say that.
Just kidding.
And having it, I mean, the ones that I do know, we're kind of homies and we talk a little bit. But I use that kind of tongue in cheek because I don't know half of you guys. Like, I know you and some of us speak, but we don't have like genuine interaction. That's being super real. That's being ultimately real.
All right, fair enough.
If I had to drink with you at an after bar after a regional and you consider a homie, you'd never drink with me again. If we're sharing a beer, those are hard times, especially when we need to rant about how bad our tournament is.
I can't share a beer.
Then on that, we're brothers.
I mean, you and I are on a different. You and I are on a different scale, and Kevin and Zach and I are on a different scale.
Are knocking back alcohol after tournaments.
Yeah, back in your fucking room. Back in your room.
Well, let's do this. After our tournament, we'll have a glass of water. Let's do that.
Yeah, we sharing a nice plastic.
Don't share it.
Yeah.
Don't share it.
Yeah, you can't share it.
Oh my god! All right, let's move on. Let's move on from this shit. Okay, what else we got? Jeff, how many regionals have you been to this season?
I believe we did casting at 5, maybe 6, and I played in 1. My favorite 2 moments though. By far has to be Azul taking the 6th prize in 1 game of Blastoise. That was probably by far my favorite moment ever in the TCG, and I was able to commentate over that. So that was pretty dope.
We spoke to Kirk about it, and he talked a little bit about him being immortalized. Well, actually, you and him being immortalized in that moment because you were both commentating on it, and the impact it had in the community. That's I agree. That's an awesome achievement, I guess you could say. Even though you weren't you were a part of it, but not necessarily, playing it.
No, the energy was absolutely obnoxious too. We definitely got a little too wild, but it was one of the coolest moments. Followed by Simon Trodier Lacasse, whatever his name, with the triad flipping heads every chance he could in Toronto with Articuno, which is probably one of the most ridiculous names I've ever seen in Expanded. So by far top 2 moments for me.
Right. That was insane.
When I look at moments like that, those like we need more of that. We need more of that to grow. If you want to make the game bigger, because like those type of moments are fun to watch, and like Pokemon is not fun to watch. Like unless you are into Pokemon and you know exactly what's going on, it's not fun to watch. And like even saying stuff like saying that's fun to watch, it's not even that. Like if you don't understand what's happening, it's still not. What the hell's going on. But like moments like that, you can tell like the going off, and it's like, oh shit, something like insane happened. Even like we need that type of gameplay if you want to make Pokemon bigger, in my opinion. Which it's just not going to happen because
I think it will happen.
I don't. I think there's too many decks that are just like pass.
Yeah, let me just fucking play Shedinja. Let me just play Shedinja for 8 rounds and stream that. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I mean, if you understand how to commentate stall, it won't be a problem.
What are you gonna? I don't know about that, but sure, man.
I mean, stall is highly interactive. I mean, until you get to a certain point in the game, it's just like, okay, my opponent can either make this certain play and win, or I'll be doing the same motions the entire game.
Yes, but like the coolest as a commentator you're gonna say is like, oh, he got rid of his energy. People married.
No, you gotta build it up. I disagree. This is the 12th resource management. Can you believe it?
For me, like, one of my favorite matches I've ever watched was Xander winning. I can't remember which regionals with Buzzwole over Wailord. And for me, that was really cool. Yeah. He just, it was like, you know, it's kind of like tennis or something like that, where inherently almost every tennis point is interesting, you know, but sometimes it's sort of like the greater picture, you know, where Xander made like 10 plays all in one game, which ended up winning him a game. And I don't know.
Which misplayed. All he had to do was play Acerola and turn like 13 or 14. I was there in the audience. And then he should have lost.
I feel like you're like...
We need a series of videos with Russell commentating people messing up. That's what we need.
Yeah, there is that. It was massive.
Lived 5 minutes away from Butch. I was the only person in the audience still watching and cheering him on. And like hyping him out through all the entire thing, and I was like, "All right, Xander's about to hit this double elixir because it's Xander," and he hit them both, and I was like, "Boy!" And I was like, "All right, Butch really needs to play Acerola right now, draws and passes," and I was like, "And we're done here."
But, well, I'm sorry it wasn't as engaging for you, but I remember the match being really fun. You literally just told me it wasn't interesting because Butch messed up.
No, I'm saying it's because you misplayed. You spoke on a context of Xander like whipping through and doing all this stuff, but like at full power back and forth. I don't believe if I didn't have the fact that I was rooting on for Butch, then objectively I'd be bored out of my mind watching that game.
I just thought it was interesting. I don't know. I think stall can be interesting too, but I do agree that it needs a higher level of understanding of both players' decks and of commentary, to make it interesting. Because I think the average player tends to just shy away from stall just because it's a lame deck or it's, you know, slower to play. But I think, you know, figuring out the archetype is something you have to do in Pokemon. And
I'll 100% be honest.
I mean, as much as
I veered away from the stall decks any chance I could for streaming,
right?
Just because I just don't know that archetype well enough to be confident to do color commentary over it.
It's also that. Meanwhile,
and I feel like
stall is also very like it's. I don't average viewer stall is fun.
Agreed.
Of course, the commentator can help that, but I don't think that even if you have a good commentator really explaining it down to the surface, it's not like really an exciting deck to put on stream. Anyways, rather than you can have like Pika versus X, or you can have like 2 rogue decks who are just really aggressive going at it. Like it's more fun to watch people taking prize cards than decking each other out.
Exactly. And the people who actually choose these stream matches don't know what decks 2 people are playing at the same time. So they'll put on the matchup regardless of whatever it is. Because I was playing in Santa Clara.
Because of the players. They're
yes, exactly.
On because of the names and their scores. Literally because of that.
Exactly.
No, not necessarily. I'll touch on that because I was part of, like, we did a lot for our regionals. We we got pairings at least 5 minutes before they were posted, and we did our best to. It wasn't always, you know, feasible because of the time restraints that we had. But we did our best to. We would grab 3 different tables and try to get the best matchup between those 3 tables. If it came down to a time crunch, we then went off what Jesper's saying, a name to go with it, or the deck that's kind of being highlighted in that tournament to kind of change up the views. I think, like, for example, Zork alone with eggs back in Madison was 17 or something like that, or 18. Yeah. So that's just as an example of like what kind of stuff we looked at when doing that. At least for LGN standpoint, I can't speak on Critical Hit or whoever did Anaheim or whatever, but yeah. Or if I don't think anyone did Anaheim.
No, Anaheim.
No,
Anaheim
because
West
they
Coast
had-
doesn't get
and-
streams.
yeah,
they had like a localized stream for the people who were there.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
dumb.
They did that for Anaheim and Santa
yeah,
Clara.
bullshit.
And-
Bullshit.
They
'cause-
just went on protectors and then just
Yeah, because there's like a California tax where you can't like stream or something like that, like
Yeah.
live.
Fucking California.
made up, for
God
sure.
damn it. All
Um,
right. What about you, Jesper? Let's move on. What's your favorite? I mean, you hit some European regionals, so we probably don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But what is your favorite experience from this season?
You've had a rough season, haven't you?
I've had a rough season, so like from my competitive standpoint, my best moment was probably the top 4 in that whatever shitty regional I had in
Oh,
Sweden.
I did
but
watch that.
honestly, I think like because of the rough season, I don't have like a really favorite moment because I'm not proud of anything.
Oh,
I've
come
done.
on, dude.
Uh,
Come on.
Jesus.
I feel
Fucking
like-
sad story right here.
You should-
I'm not proud.
I'll take that. That was
All
honest.
right, all right.
That was
real,
honest.
real.
You
Yeah,
got a top 4, dude. I got
Yeah.
top 4, and I'm
Yeah.
proud.
it's
You
top
should
4
be
out of
proud.
106 people or something.
We don't
not-
have to say that number.
Top 4 is top
You
4,
got-
baby.
The thing is,
That's-
like, we would have never known that had you not said it.
That's
Yeah,
a
like-
leak. That's a leak up in California, but sure.
This guy big leaked on himself.
But like honestly, like I'm proud of myself being so shit that I could 4-5 regional with Granbull, meeting 5 Sarks in a row with just mucking me from turn 2 on.
Oh,
Yikes!
that's eels, bro.
Yeah. No.
But I got a question. Like because you're in Europe, like you have
Yeah.
to sit back and watch all the shenanigans going on over here. Like, how much do you guys look at America's like meta and go, yeah, that's right, or
Of course-
they're a bunch of idiots?
No, we don't necessarily say like they're a bunch of idiots, but like, of course,
There's a but. There's a but.
there is a but, and that's literally like the way that the meta is shaping up, like in terms of Europe, because American and Europe meta has never been the same totally for all the time I've been playing it for a really long time now. Yeah, of course, expanded regional kind of got us off because we didn't really care about them. We just watched them for fun, basically. Also, I was going to Daytona, but like the expanded format just shook up so much that I wasn't even prepared to play Daytona really. But like honestly, the decks coming out of the standard regionals at least were like what we expected. Other than the store control, I can't remember what regional that was. Even Nico went
Denver.
to Denver. Yeah, Nico went to Denver. He played versus Caleb in I think it was like the win and in or something. But yeah, other than that, like we tried playing store control afterwards, and we were just like, this deck didn't win against PK if they played it right. Like there's just so many variables that people could do in the US, but then like the European regionals also always like a week or two after the American ones, and then people know how to play against the deck, and then the meta just shapes up to like only tier 1.
Yeah.
All right. Jesper, do you agree with the sentiment, Jesus Christ, that like in EU, you guys have an upper echelon of players, and then like 2 or 3 tiers until you reach like the majority of the European player base. Like that's pretty much like how I actually visualize it. And you can answer dishonestly because you have a limit list and you guys got a brand and everything. And most of your people like in Europe. But I'm saying like I think some of the like the top players over in Europe, you guys are just so freaking good that like you can play whatever you want and then just kind of swing by and manipulate the meta in your own dumb ways because you're just so much better than like the like B tier C players, which we have here in the US. So like to put it like A tier would be like DDG, people that can consistently top 8, consistently top 4, yada yada yada. People that consistently A2, and then you have like a slew of players who are barely making it on day 2. And I feel like you guys just have that. It's like Limitless and a couple of other like 6 or 7 people that, you know, I wouldn't remember their first name, but I remember their last name plus like the type of decks they play, and then like a fat stack of nothing, and then like the rest of like the community.
I'm speaking for myself in this. I'm not wearing any branded jerseys. I can.
All right, there you go.
We got
So,
your
I'm
we
gonna
have
be
your
honest here.
Limitless logo on this stream, so
Oh, we
you
do
are
have it.
representing
Yeah.
Limitless still.
We don't have that strict rules about it because I'm speaking
Oh,
for
you're
myself.
good.
But like honestly, I think yes, in many ways that a European dude can go to regional and like top day 2. We're still playing card game with variants, so I'm not sure you can say like you're gonna play whatever deck and you still make day 2, right? And you saying limitless plus X players are making day 2 every time.
You probably
wrong.
know what players I'm talking about in referencing X. Is like that's
I
how
know.
good they are, but like how it's like it's repetitive. That's just them.
Yeah, I know, but you're technically wrong because I didn't make day 2 at the regional. I had day 2 this season. That's how hard I scrub. But like just speaking,
I'm
speaking
You're the outlier.
Shit.
You're the outlier.
You put you in
You're
that
the
shit
outlier.
category.
but yeah, Russ, I technically yes, I agree.
You.
I agree with what you're saying, and I agree that the U.S. regionals days 2 are more variants than the European day 2s.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna gas you up here. I think that like the top cut or like the day 2 at times of your guys' events, at least like going into the top 8, is more than likely harder than it is in like the U.S. And only like the honestly, I would rather play in your guys' tournaments because you need less points to get into the top 8 than you do at ours. And it's like a ridiculous number, like more like the extra round we get, like the 6 rounds into like a day 2 and all that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
sick.
much more pressure that like it makes DDG's feats and like their wins and their top 8s that much more impressive in my eyes.
Yeah.
And people don't really analyze that. So when you drop a number like, well, they only have like 106 people, blah blah. I'm like, cool. 36 of them are threats. So for you to make top 4 at one of them, in my eyes, I'm like, you did phenomenal. It was a great run. It was a cool tournament. So
Yeah, but I just
that's
like
why I want to throw that
at
at you. I wanted to get your opinion and be like, just by the way, like
yeah, okay.
you
So
guys are really
if
good.
you look at that, of course, I played in a tournament with like Limitless and Tord, and I basically did the same thing as Emery did at U.S. Nationals, with basically just let loose your shit out of your opponent. We also played the same deck, so why not? But like yeah, like in terms of player size, the event wasn't like really prestigious to get top 4 at, but like in terms of like how many good players were, like I beat Nico in the tournament. I beat a bunch of players who were actually really good.
Yeah.
I lost my top 4 to do the prize in Coco. Otherwise, I wouldn't beaten Bird as well.
Yeah.
So that's where variance comes in. But like honestly, when I played in the U.S. regionals, I'm gonna do that next season as well. I'm already booked for Daytona and Toronto.
Toronto's Canadian, baby.
Yeah.
Canada, by the way.
North America.
Like,
North
it's
America.
basically the same players are going, but
Go to Portland.
when I go to U.S. regionals, my starting rounds have always been easier in terms of pairings. Like I remember I had a Harrogate regional where round 1 I was paired. No, yeah, I think it was round 1 or 2 I was pairing against Stephen Mao, and then we just start off there. Like start with the top 22 players playing against each other. I don't think you usually don't hit that in US. Because in Philadelphia last year I started 4-0, and then I hit a good player. In Toronto I started 5-0, and then I hit Jimmy. Like it's stuff like that. I usually don't see many US regionals where many of the top players hit each other in the earlier rounds.
Right. You have a lot more casual players that enter tournaments. You got like fucking Pokedads and shit like that entering tournaments. Like, oh, I'm just here because my son's here, so I'm gonna play.
And they beat you, and you're like, shit.
For real, bro.
Fucking Pokedad.
Let loose.
Piece of shit.
Let loose.
That's not even
Or
that's
you
not
play
even like
Russ
that,
and he's
bro.
playing fucking Tyranitar in round 2
Or they
something.
play like super slow because they just now got
Oh
the
my
deck.
god, I hate this.
Oh,
You gotta win game
Then
1.
you lose game 1, and you're like,
Yes,
I
it's
apologize.
over.
I just got these cards for the first time. I'm sorry.
They have to apologize like
Oh
8
my God.
times.
And the thing is, like, the deck is always like an anti-meta call. So if you're playing like a tuned version of the meta deck, you're just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you
Dude,
playing
fuck
this?
you, bro. Just give me the win. Just give me the win.
Literally
Move
that.
on.
Pokedad's out here playing Tool Drop, Dual Blade and stuff.
Yo, chill.
Oh, that's literally that we saw that in Australia. Tanner's dad played that. It was yikes.
Oh my god.
Bro, I was in Dallas this past year playing Expanded Gardevoir. This dude was playing Lucario GX, and he was literally like a turn away from bodying me because he still had like the GX attack, and I was like, I donked it. Like I had like a super hot start, and I ran him off the board game 1. Game 2 was really close. And I think we had like 3 minutes left or like a couple of seconds left or whatever. And he's like, I think I can win. And he misplays, and I was just like, whoo.
That's how you get them sometimes. Just a misplay. Just a misplay.
Like I say it a lot because like we're on the West Coast and our regionals are a lot smaller. And like I was talking to Kenny Britton about it, and he's like, they're a lot smaller, but all the good players still show up. So
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
if you want to talk like, oh, I won the biggest regional ever, cool. I won the regional that had only 300 people, but it's smaller, and all the good players were there.
But the
That's
thing
how
that makes,
Utah regionals was last
the
year.
thing that makes the bigger regionals more like
Is the
makes
rounds?
the biggest regionals harder is that the mass amount of people you have to get through.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing a smaller regional, you just have to get lucky less amount of times, you know. Well, maybe not less amount of times, but like in less games.
But you should be playing against better competition, correct?
Yeah.
Not really. It depends. Most of the time, like when we were in Utah last year, we were playing
Just
Utah
dodging?
locals.
Oh,
And
you
then
were?
like once you get past like the round 3, you're playing only good players.
You're talking like 2 years ago, right? We didn't have a regional in Utah this year.
Yeah, we did it last May. Last May, like the May before this past May.
Yeah, that was not this year. That was last year.
Yeah, those 17.
It's 2018.
It's 2019. It's
2019.
2019.
But it counted for
It's still
20,
2019.
Yeah, it counted for
According to
2017,
Zach, we're in
2018.
2020s.
For real,
We're
though.
2018. We did.
Was that the one where the guy broke the window?
No.
Okay.
That was the year before that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh my god. All right, Josh, I know you've been to a
What?
few regionals. I've been with you to a few of them. Let's hear your most memorable experience.
They're all with Zach. They're all with Zach. The first one's definitely got to be playing a Alolan Executor in Philadelphia. And just going like 1 in 5.
Eels.
Hey, you had the wrong eggs. But
That to me does not matter. That does not. And then one of the best ones was Russell bodying Zach when he was playing Tyranitar.
Oh, yes.
And it was just the greatest
Yes.
thing.
Oh my god.
I just watched. Zach's like, I got this, and he's like, Tyranitar.
No,
got
I knew I didn't have
Put
it.
your Kingdra in the Lost Zone,
Yeah.
and it was just so.
All that energy and the Kingdra in the
I
last-
banished that bitch to the Shadow Realm. The fuck out of here.
I was like, I want to hit anything but that deck. Like, I'm talking to him before the tournament. He's like, I'm playing fucking Tyranitar. I'll beat every fucking Stoice out there. And I'm like, all right. I assume it's
How
a
are
good
you
matchup
powering
card.
that up?
I don't even. Oh, with fucking Solgaleo.
No Galileo GX, dude.
I got fucking ran over by this.
Like 6 waters in the Lost Zone.
The
Oh,
best
God,
part,
that's so
the
good.
best part is like the tournament is like over. Russ is fucking heated. I fucking dead Drew. He's playing like shit. He does not give a fuck. He's still mad. He's like, I don't even care.
No, I got let loose into 2 losses. Shit pissed me the fuck off.
Like, I played try. I would have won, man.
That's massive eels.
Oh, fucking A. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I like that one. All right, Emery, let's move on to you. We know you got 2nd overall at NAIC. That's got to be definitely up there. But other than that, what's a more memorable, if not equally as memorable, experience this season?
That's a really good question. I would say, so for me, I had this like moment where I'd missed points at 2 apparently very easy U.S. regionals, those being Denver and Collinsville.
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. Oh yeah, Mike bodied me at Denver. I played a bad deck, so it was my fault.
You
But
played Zoroark.
deck sucked.
Yeah, agreed,
But-
100%.
But for me, that was like, I'd been playing in cups and stuff, and I'd been driving all over, and I'd just been like working really hard, and I was like, Denver was kind of a last minute trip, and I was like, Denver and Madison, I should be able to get my invite, because every year I've gotten my invite before NAIC or Nationals or whatever, this year included. And I was so sad. like I had AP tests coming, which is like a big, I guess Jesper would, might be the only one who like understands these, but they're basically these massive tests that have a big part in me getting into the college I want to get
fucking
into.
high school. We went to
Yeah,
high
dude,
school. We know what AP.
we
We
all
know
know
what
AP
AP is.
Did you take IB classes too?
So yeah, you guys are.
Did you take
you guys are all
AP
idiots,
and IB
so-
classes?
They don't offer IBs at my school.
Oh.
But I had the ACT coming up too, which
Are you taking the
and
SAT too?
I'm taking SAT subject test the week after Worlds. But
That's
you know,
ears.
I had a lot of academic pressure, and I was just feeling super burnt out on Pokemon, and I was just like, I need to step back. So I didn't play the game for about a month after that. At least it felt like a month. I can't remember exactly how long. And some of you guys who are friends with me on Facebook remember me being, you know, really unhappy with the game. And so I sort of,
bro. What are you talking about? I supported it. It's
Trash.
Because let loose left and right. The fuck out of
and well, and part of it too is that all my friends are like, Pokemon sucks. Like, don't, you know, like, let's play, you know, Keyforge or other stuff. But for me,
Keyforge is trash though.
Let's get it going.
for me, I figured out this year, I was like, why am I playing Pokemon? You know, and for as much as I wanna say, you know, like set your own goals, be realistic with yourself. God, I want to be the best at this game. You know,
That's a true fact.
unapologetically, I want to be dominant. You know, and so I was like, you know, I'm gonna relax and I'm gonna do my best, but God, I want to win. You know, and then after that, you know, I won 4 straight cups. I got day 2 at Madison, which more or less went for my season from like failure to like almost okay. And then NAIC happened, you know, and that was, you know, the single most transformative experience I've ever had in my career. And you know, I can't believe it. You know, like everything that's come of that. I mean, people tweet at me. I'm someone people care about in Pokemon now, and I don't know. I've never thought that people would care about how I did at this game. You know, I never thought I would be sponsored. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to come and talk with people like Russ, like Jeffrey. You know, I've looked up to people like you for my whole life.
You shouldn't. I'm a shitbag.
Yes, me too. I remember watching you win. You know, and I remember being friends, mutual friends, but I would never have come talk to you before NAIC just because you guys, you know, you guys are my heroes.
Too cool
you
for
know?
school.
And
That
so,
doesn't. We don't know what AP. We don't know what AP
bro.
is.
Come on now.
Dude,
And
listen here,
so
I'm just
Leave my boy Emery alone.
lucky.
He's bearing his
Oh,
soul.
you're good.
I've wanted this for my whole career as a competitive player, to be able to talk and have the right to be at the door to talk with people like you and to have earned it, not to have just been some fun guy who goes to every regional and stuff, you know, because those people have their place, but I want to be at the top, you know, and I want to
understand.
talk to people because I'm at the top. And so having been given this opportunity and been given, you know, Twitter followers and been given the money to travel to other continents to play Pokemon is to me, you know, more than I could have ever asked for and more than I ever could have expected.
Well, congratulations to you.
That's
That's
great.
That's good. That's good. That's well said, sir.
I want to touch on this.
No, it's all a
That was
snowball
great.
effect. You know, success breeds more
What a
success.
speed.
Oh God, are we gonna get all fucking emotional now?
No,
I gotta mentally
wanna-
prepare for this.
I
gotta
wanna-
take this to another level.
I want to take this to a level where it's like you see Emery, and the stuff he just said, where he felt he was not good enough to talk to you, and like I think we touched on it in Russ's interview where he's just like, where people put you on a pedestal where like it's fucking Pokemon, like who cares, you know?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't.
Like
I get it. You look at these players because you look at someone like Jimmy Pendarvis who won 3 regionals this year in a row.
4, I think. 3
Yeah,
in a row, 4 total.
4 total, 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
And it's like, I would say from like an outside perspective, if you weren't friends or you're not in a group of people, you look at Jimmy and you're like, I could never talk to that guy. Like, would he ever talk to me?
That's
Which is
me
like,
right now.
really, like in my head, I look at Jimmy and I'm like, that's a dude. Like,
He's a guy.
Good job,
He's a
dude.
guy.
Like I get it.
Yeah.
I get
I was
it.
in your shoes last year.
No offense to
Like-
Jimmy, he's not super
Yeah.
approachable. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, that's
he
definitely-
doesn't
he's
look
not.
like he's like. He
You're
wants to
right.
come over and give him a high five and shit. He's like. "Fuck
Remember
off."
that guy made that post and tried to say like kicked a dog or something or whatever the hell that was. That was
Yo,
whatever the hell that
chill.
was.
We still on
He
that.
did. Someone did.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
literally did that.
there was the whole thing.
But yeah, Emery, I was definitely in that.
No,
like,
he did
that
not
bubble
kick a
last
dog.
year.
So everyone knows he did not kick a dog.
Well, and the thing is, to me, is like part of it too is just like I will never, until I have the results to put them on a piece of paper and say this is why I'm the best. I will never believe that I'm, you know, worth anything. And you say, Russell, it's just Pokemon, and to that I agree. But saying it's just Pokemon undermines the fact that, not me personally, because I'm a legal child, but my parents are helping me, pay thousands of dollars to play this game. This game is, to me, it will only be taking a bigger role in my life, after this. I played this game for 6 years. I put uncountable hours into it, And so, yes, it is just Pokemon, but also it's something that matters deeply to me, and it matters deeply, I'm sure, just as much to Jimmy, as much to you, as much to anyone here, And so to me, like, it's hard for me to say these celebrities of the game, I'm putting you on a pedestal right now. I put Jesper, I put a lot of my friends on pedestals, and before NAIC, I was like, these people are just friends with me because I, like Snapchatted them once, or because no, genuinely. Right. And now I feel like I have a right to talk Pokemon with you. I have a right to talk Pokemon with John, because before I just didn't have the self-confidence to point at something and say, hey guys, look, I let loose for $5,000, and so no, but I knew I was good in my head, nothing changed. I didn't get way better between, Madison and NAIC or anything like that, but now I feel like I'm at the door where I can approach people and I can say, hey, because to some degree they'll know who I am already, and that's a lot easier to make a connection when someone knows who you are, So that's just it's really transformative in a weird way, and I think it also might undermine the issue that I see a lot of celebrities get interactions. I'm personally very comfortable with people reaching out to me or DMing me or doing anything like that. But I also recognize a lot of people who are in these public positions aren't incredibly social creatures, or aren't wanting to spend a long period of time talking to people they don't necessarily know. And so I think there's this weird mix of like wanting to be approachable and wanting to be like a kind person, but also like there's a limit, Like I wouldn't have signed up to do what, like literally 10 videos since NAIC if I didn't love talking to Pokemon and want to get my name out there, But to another degree, if I wasn't as socially capable as I believe that I am, I would never say come meet me at Worlds. I would never say, let's make that connection. I never would have made the friends I made. And so that's hard for me too to rationalize, when people say, oh, top players are so exclusive or are so,
They are.
Yeah, they really are though.
You can't expect people. It's like saying like you have to insert people into your, like, I agree that they're exclusive, but to another degree,
but like
when people aren't exclusive, they end up, they lose something from that. And so anytime someone loses something, I can never blame them for being a certain way. Like I can't blame someone for not testing their best ideas with me, because why the heck would they leak to me? Like I don't understand. I can't blame anyone for that. I'm like, okay, you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. It's probably something I did or in my personality that makes you not want to interact with me, or just because you don't, you're a certain way. And so like that's, I think while people are exclusive and that can be an issue, I think we have to give these people a little bit more humanity that we give ourselves, and that we give people who don't necessarily have their name or their accomplishment.
It's a competition, man. Like everybody's trying to win, and no leaks. That's pretty much that's what it is.
Okay.
Zach leaks to everyone.
But to speak on that, to speak on that more so of like undermining, and when I say it's just Pokemon, level-headed mind where I separate my hobby, my competitive drive, and my personality and how I am and interact with people as humans different from how I play my fucking card game, okay? I've been amazing at card games since I was 13, and I say that with the utmost cockiness, and I can back it up 1,000%. But I do not treat anyone that isn't as accomplished as me any less of a person.
Right.
So what I'm saying, you're undermining, it's like there's different aspects of it. So it's like, all right, well, Pokemon's here, and if you say it doesn't mean that much to you, it might mean more to someone else. Cool. They can look at it from their lens and how they want to be perceived, or how they want others to perceive them. Are they playing for some sort of validation for themselves, or are they playing for validation of others and trying to be up on the pedestal with everyone else there? And so that speaks to the humbleness of the top players, how exclusively and how much they actually talk online and interact with the community, and how much they actually care about how these tournaments are driven, played, cheating, anything on that level. And that's why when I say it's just Pokemon, I mean in a competitive sense.
Yeah.
Because I never think just because someone's shit at the game that I'm a better person than they are, that I hold more value than they do, or that anything I do can just be like, taken as fucking gospel as opposed to what they can think. Some of my best ideas that I come up with, like May Day 2 and tournaments with, is someone posting a shitty list on Burbank, and I'm like, that's a good idea. They just built it like absolute crap. And just go from there and actually message him about it, but like, hey, you could have changed like one or two things and this would be different. So what I'm saying is when I mean exclusive, I mean substance, content, and like the secret stuff they'll keep because they're competitive people and want to hide that from others. That's totally fair. That's on their own standpoint. Fucking no one communicates with the community as much as I do and Ru can. And that's it. If anyone says that they do, they're bullshitting. All right? Yeah. Or they're doing it on their personal stream because they have a financial vendetta to separate and back up their points behind it. Way, way freaking different than my weekly Q&As that everyone eventually pissed me off so much because I'm not talking to them, validating their thoughts to be pushed at me. And that's half the reason why people made the Q&As is because they wanted to pitch their stupid-ass idea and they wanted me to be like, this is good, or say this is bad. And when I said it was bad, they came up and tried to argue with me when I had no intentions of needing to do so because my time is only so much of my time. So when I say it's just Pokemon, I mean it's just competitive, and we have our own outs to it, but that doesn't define you as a person or as a human. And I'm pretty sure that's like how it should feel across the world.
Anyone who thinks that they're a better person objectively is, I don't.
They're shitty people, and some shitty people do exist at the top of the levels of the people, which is why I talk shit because you're horrible humans. And when I say I hate this community, there's like layers to it because they themselves think they're better than others based upon some kind of hobby that we're all going through, of which doesn't have much financial support. So when we're backing up with sponsors and people are throwing around names and trying to act like they're better than others, just because they have the word behind it doesn't mean that they necessarily are. And since it's kept quiet in how much money people are getting paid and what they're all doing, they make their own tiers in a hierarchy of levels of which new people entering the game feel like they can't break through. You yourself just spoke to this because of how they like base themselves on performances. And I'm telling you, if you're hearing this now and you're like, oh, I never made Day 2, I really like Russell Parr, so shit, or like you're really unprofessional, Russ, you need to shut the fuck up. Whatever you're thinking, just know I don't think less of you because you can't go fucking X into at some event of a child's card game. Like, good fucking lord. And I understand not being able to talk to us. That's totally cool. Some people just straight up can't, or some people are far too intrusive where they need to back off. I don't know you like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And like that's totally
that happens
fine.
a lot too.
Never ever equate like performances and stature as a human of like you being less than a person or something.
I think any rational mind would agree with that. And I think a lot of the people who do think that way, that you can't, talk shit or you do talk shit about, I think they themselves wouldn't say. But I definitely they wouldn't say.
They don't say it publicly. They say it in group chats, and I get sent the screenshots. And so there's a shit list right here that these tons of people like. They talk in the community. They're all fake.
I know what you're talking about. Even with people who aren't, top tier or something, where they'll be like, I think this person's, like a moron because I beat them at a cup once and they misplayed. Like if people based their view of me strictly on the match that was broadcasted to 10,000 people live, I would be at the bottom of the Pokemon trading card game right now. Like as I should be, But at the same time, it's like, people have been able to look past that and be like, well, at least he was a good sport. At least he seems to care about the community. At least he's been playing for a long time. And so I think, that's a really, I definitely agree with you that there's some sort of hierarchy there. And that it's something that should be thought about more seriously as an issue.
Right.
Well,
I definitely don't believe there's a hierarchy. I just think that's a barrier that people place in their own minds. So when I first got into the game last year, well, I had already been playing locally for about 6 months. My first regional, my brother brought me to Jalen. He's got a little bit more clout in the game than I do because he got put on that Nationals commercial from 2017, I think. My goal was actually to join someone's PC. My goal was to join someone's PC when I first got into this. And then I met Russ. Russ, so many people told me that I was a lot like Russ, but then I realized that I really am not. I'm nowhere near this guy. I'm so much like, I mean, I may think like him, but I don't act like him. I'm not the same. And I realized that as Russ and I became friends, I didn't want the same things as him. I understood that his team was a family, and that was something I wanted to be a part of. That's still something I would not like decline if I was given it. But I understand that now that my path of being a Pokemon player that I've gone down is not going to be defined by that. I've done something completely different. I've made so many friends. I've gotten this accomplishment. I've done this. I've been consistent. And sometimes it's just you have to define things more than people define them for you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, just because somebody says something doesn't mean that that's what it is. You actually have to search and figure out what that is. It's not just because somebody says it's a rock and it looks like a rock doesn't mean it's just a rock. It could be a freaking crystal, bro. Still a rock, but you found out what kind of rock it was.
That could be a fucking comment. What do you say?
It could be an Aerodactyl.
Could be an Aerodactyl. Oh my god. All right.
Exactly.
All right. Let's move on.
Well,
let's move on from this. We're getting a little off track. I know. It's a little heartwarming.
That's fine.
But all right. Let's finish up with you, Mike. Let's get some of your most memorable experiences, then we'll kind of wrap it up. We've taken up enough of you guys' time.
So my favorite moments, like the two that really popped off to me. Well, actually, I have three. I played Emery in Denver. That was really one of the funnest games I had that entire day because he was super nice. Like, I thought I was actually going to get bodied because game one, he goes, Muck turn 2, and I literally had, like, this entire game plan in my hand. I looked up at the board, and I was like, I'm just going to scoop.
Specifically, I go Muck Judge, and then he bricks for 4 turns. So I bodied him. I let loose him and blocked his abilities and said,
Outplayed.
But then he realized who the GOAT was and got bodied.
Oh, yeah. I got slaughtered, dude. Dude,
matchup was
made me recognize how bad I am at Pokemon. I was like, God, I need to get so much better if I want to.
The matchup was actually in his favor. He was playing Zoroark. I was playing Zapdos Lycanroc.
Oh shit, that shit.
Yeah.
No. All right, what's your other one?
Hunter Butler made top 8 at Internets. So there's like a whole like lead up to that entire story. So Jalen and I just literally drove in to Internets from Georgia. It's like maybe 1:30, 2 a.m. Hunter busts into the hotel and he goes, "Yo, I have the fucking sauce." And I was like, "What is this? This is bulk."
This is bulk.
He was at my Airbnb too, and he almost got Nick to play it. And we were like, "What are you doing, dude?"
He literally goes, "Bro, I have Night March in my hands right now," and I'm just like, "This looks like he gets bodied by Wheezy." And he was like, "It does.
It does. It does.
Run into Wheezy, it doesn't matter." And he goes, "Dodged all the Wheezing. I'm 7-1-1." And I'm taking a nap on day 2. I wake up and turn on the Twitch, and he bodies Stephon Ivanov on stream. And I was just like, Jalen and I are in the hotel room just going nuts. And I was like, "Oh, he made it!"
I don't want to talk about that match because there's no way.
Oh my God.
There's no way Ivanov should have lost that.
No, yeah. No,
And obviously, I top 4 Santa Clara. My matchups couldn't have been greater. So
top 4 is a top 4 is a top 4.
Yeah.
I
remember how I met Mike. I don't remember what regional I'm at, but I'm hanging out with Chum, and Mike don't know, like, I've never seen him in my life. Walks up to me, he goes, "I played you at Daytona and I beat you." I'm like, some child does that shit just walked up to me. And I'm like, I was thinking back, I was like he walked away, I looked at Chum, I was like, I was at the bottom tables at Daytona, so was he, so fuck that guy.
I don't remember. Did I do that? I'm pretty sure I didn't just walk away.
100%.
I'm pretty sure we had like a whole
100%
conversation.
you did that. No, we did not have much of a conversation. You're like, "Oh yeah, we played together. I bodied you," and then you walked away.
It must have been round 1 or something.
No,
it was like
round 12.
Oh shit. All right. Well, that's all the time we got for you today. Thanks again, everyone, for being on the show. Again, if you haven't subscribed, hit that button. Follow us for every update. We post new videos every Friday. I want to say special thanks to all of our guests. We got Jeffrey Saran, Jesper Erickson, Josh Hatter, Russell Lepar. Hold on, you can fucking let me finish. God damn it. Emery Taylor and Mike Morton. I'm your host, Kevin Kenny, with my co-host, Zachary Everest. And go ahead.
And Jesper's got something to say.
Go ahead.
All right, so I am recording a documentary for a local TV station this week from Worlds, where I've gotten some recording stuff done at home. I'm recording at Worlds, so hit me up if you want to be a part of it. Yeah,
100%. 100%. And again,
Is it English? Can I speak English?
It will be broadcast in Danish, but I'll make sure to do my best to get an English subtitles.
All right. Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
I can say whatever I want.
Can we do English dub and then I'll just like speak over it?
All right. Hey, I want to mention this as well. We've been doing this podcast for a few months now, and we've had a bunch of guests, and we're doing this giveaway. I just want to remind everyone that we are giving away to the winner of our contest this awesome Chumley portrait.
Yes, bro, I'm selling that to you if I win.
So if you were lucky enough to be on this show, good luck to you. And we will have it at Worlds, and hopefully signed by Chum. He's a little busy right now, so, you know.
I'm giving it to
right?
Jesper. No cap.
So I have dibs on it, by the way. I got dibs.
Oh, shit. All right, well, thanks again, everyone. But it's time for us to scoop it up.